Hello and welcome to the bottom of it with your host Joshua Moriarty.
G'day, welcome back to the bottom of it with me, your host Joshua Moriarty. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here again. It's always a pleasure. I don't want to fuck around. Oh, jeez, I don't know if I should be. I always click the explicit lyrics thing when I'm uploading these podcasts because I just can't help myself sometimes. I didn't mean to startle you with such offensive language, straight off the bat. But hey, I can do whatever the fuck I want here. It's my podcast. It's the joy of this thing. I'm in control. Today I don't want to muck about. I want to get straight into who the guest is. It's a really good friend of mine. It's a guy named Stan Bicknell, who is a drum extraordinaire, one of the best drummers I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm very, very confident and happy to say that. He's incredible. He is world class, I think, Stan Bicknell. He's played a bit with Miami Horror. We've done some stuff with him. He was in Kimbra's band for quite some time at the start there, but he had a band called the New Caledonia from Hamilton, and I know him from back then. My band, old band 1QA, and his band, the New Caledonia, played together when we went back from Melbourne to Auckland and Hamilton to play with those guys. That's when we met. They were really prog rock kind of. We discuss it all, you can hear what it's all about, but they're a pretty wild and fantastical band inspired by all sorts of prog bands from the 2000s era of prog. When prog was cool, I don't know if you guys remember that. We talk about that a bit, Stan and I, back when prog was actually the cool, hip sound. What I was going to say about Stan, he's a very motivational guy. He's a guy who's always trying to improve himself, improve his drumming, and trying to develop as a human being and as a musician. And if you watch him behind the kit, you will definitely be inspired. He has that kind of power. So yeah, we talk about him starting off in a Tool covers band, who his influences are, and what motivates him as a drummer and an artist, and what keeps him going. Talk about some of the workshops he's done, some of the social media, his Instagram. We talk about Timon Martin, ladies and gentlemen, who is Kimbra's right-hand man. We talk about his family and his sort of decision to stop touring and just kind of focus on family life and keep his drumming just to himself almost, and kind of just putting it online rather than actually having to travel the world with it. Yeah, we talk about his kids and all that stuff. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Stan Bicknell. Enjoy. So how Ashton's playing?
He's playing drums.
How long has he been playing drums for?
2 years.
Is he any good?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny because do you remember when we did, you remember we were doing the Peacocks and he used to come to sound checks and stuff?
Far out.
He came to like a sound check on King Street.
I couldn't even, that's blurry time for me.
Oh, okay, right. Well,
it was
a great time.
Life is a blurry time for me.
Yeah, and that was like, that was a great band, by the way, but he would come along to, so point being is that he's been around this stuff. He would come to sound checks, hop on the kit. He's been around there his whole life. But
did you make him hop on the kit, or he just did it?
No, well, like if the drums were set up, we'd get a photo. Sit down. We'll get a photo.
Yeah, but you didn't push him to do it.
No, and that's the thing.
I wouldn't have thought you would.
You wouldn't have thought I would?
No, I don't think you would. I think you just let him do if he wants to do it, he'll do it.
Yeah. It's funny, because as drummy as I am, it was not something that I never wanted to impose on the kids. And I remember giving him a lesson back in 2012, an actual lesson where I got Jess to drop him off at my drum studio that I had.
Right.
And he was really good. He was playing time within about half an hour. He was playing, essentially a Beatles song. And I was like, okay, he's definitely got it. And he's always been into writing beats on like GarageBand and things like that.
I remember you telling me that last time when you did the Miami Horror show with us. He was starting to do that.
Yeah, and he loops and he does things like that. And he's got this on his iPad. He's got like an MPC, and so he writes beats that way as well. But when he moved back to New Zealand 2 years ago, he asked his mum straight up. He was like, "Can I get drum lessons?" And he'd never asked me that, and it's so funny. And she rang me and she's like, "He wants to get drum lessons," and I was like, "That's awesome." And so she hooked him up with a teacher who was good to start with, but he was a very traditional teacher. Basically, he wasn't very cool. And so after like a year and a bit, I teed him up with one of my friends he's a great drummer. He lives in Raglan. He's like got he likes Rage, and he's got all that sort of fundamental backbone stuff that we like.
Yeah.
The stuff that really impacted me. And so that's how he's found his love for Rage. That's how he's found his love for System of a Down. Man, he's been listening to a Prodigy Best Of album since he was about 9 years old. And I remember when he was 10 and he asked me if I knew the song 46 and 2 by Tool. And I was like, oh, mate.
sit down.
You don't even realise who you're talking to. And I pulled out all my Tool tribute memorabilia and like some like VHS and video of like some shitty cam with me with like really long hair and a cigarette out of my mouth playing a really bad version of
The
Anima.
ciggy out on the drums.
Yeah, bro.
That's real cool.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is. It doesn't look too bad. It's funny, eh? Like his mum was like handing me a beer. It was like a 30th. I was only like 18 at the time though, but it was a friend's 30th.
Now this was loot.
This is loot.
This was the infamous loot. Hamilton's loot.
Hamilton's loot, which
Yeah.
birthed everything, because that's how I met Timon. That's how the New Cal started.
Right.
Because Timon, so the second guitarist in Loot was Michael McKenzie. Which
Yep,
you
I
know
remember
him.
Michael McKenzie.
And Mike didn't really know. It was the first time that he was sort of having to learn odd time signatures, and so Timon was coming up to the rehearsals and
This is
showing
Timon
him.
who plays with Kimbra, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep,
Timon
Timon
Martin.
from Kimbra.
Yep.
Timon. What else has he done?
He's done lots of stuff.
He has
but
done lots of stuff,
He's been with Kimbra the whole time, hasn't he? Every
we
time I think
realised
he's
it a couple
maybe going to
months ago.
stop doing it, he's still
Keeps
there.
going, like from start to finish. He's the only guy that's kept going the whole way through.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and he's seen every version.
Yeah, totally.
As well.
I think she'd be kind of be a whole different thing without him. They must have quite the dynamic these days.
Yeah, and I think even just as emotional and musical support as well, he obviously is key to that whole thing. But he would rock up, and this is I actually had met Timon before, because if we go back a year earlier, I auditioned for their band Stadium. Do you remember that band?
I remember him telling
And
me
I
about
didn't get the gig.
They were quite straight rock though.
Yeah, it was like a Shehad
Shehad
ripoff.
kind of thing.
Yeah, Fagan was like yelling up to the mic like John Too Good and all these things. I remember seeing them, and I was like, when we had a jam at Mike Taylor's Dudley Studios, the first version of it, I was looking at it and I was like, man, I've seen that before. And I didn't get the gig, bro. I got the call like 3 days
Why
later.
didn't you get the gig?
One of their friends turned back up, like came back into town, who knew all the parts, and so I think it was just easier to go with him.
Too Danny Carey, not enough Tom Larkin.
Well, they've always said to me, a little too much Carter Beauford.
Carter Beauford.
Can you dial back the Carter Beauford? Whenever we recorded.
I haven't never listened to Dave Matthews Band. That one kind of completely
Yeah, that's
missed
one of
me.
my secret shames, eh?
Is it shameful?
Well, this is the thing, I don't know.
It taught you a lot, though,
I don't
didn't
know
it?
anymore. Yeah, drumming-wise, it taught me so much, man, because Carter was the first drummer that I listened to that exposed me to that real free, open style. It just happened to be in context of the Dave Matthews music.
Yeah, sure. So you
know?
kind of the music's a means to an end, but the drums
But
are
the
really
drumming
what you're
was,
there for.
and his tight snare and a little hi-hat work and stuff like that. And so Timon would come up and do rehearsals help Mike McKenzie through his rehearsals. And then one day we were having a little smoke.
Say whatever you want here, buddy.
Okay, good. It's a safe place. Good.
Yeah.
We were having a little
The
smoke.
world will hear it, but it's safe.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, it's safe within the world. We were having a smoke in between running through some songs, and Timon's like, hey, man, I've been watching you play for a while, and I've got these demos of an idea that I'm trying to put together. I reckon you'd be really good for it. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. All right, well, give me the demos and I'll have a listen. And it was these 2 really early songs that we did, just a couple of riffs, and I had to listen to them, and I was like, what is this, man? It was like melodic Meshuggah, basically, is the best way to put it.
That's kind of, what it's always been a little bit like, right?
Yeah, I feel like it took a turn, though.
Yeah.
That was always the intention, but I
Yeah.
felt like it turned into fusion,
It's super fusion.
which I probably didn't help with the way that
I was
played.
watching your drum through of some of the New Cal stuff
yeah.
on
On
YouTube the
YouTube,
other
yeah.
day. I mean, I hadn't forgotten how mental it was, but it definitely was a little reminder of how wild. I mean, I remember seeing you guys when we came to play with you in Auckland or whatever, and just. But I was so into that. It was perfect.
Yeah, I loved playing with your band, man. 1QA.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it was. That was just such a great little duo,
Well, we were
matchup.
all into wild stuff. That was the wild time. That's when Mars Volta was the king of the world and Tool and all.
battles.
Yeah, exactly. Things were really proggy and rocky.
Prog was real big, eh?
Yeah, it was really
It was
hot.
quite popular then. It's crazy. It
I
came
think
back
so.
with a vengeance, and then it died off again.
Yeah, and it's been gone ever since.
And it has been gone
basically.
ever since.
It's definitely not cool.
No.
I think it was cool then, right? It was actually kind of cool.
Yeah, because it was Battles, Mars Volta, Phantomus, anything that Mike Patton was doing was real popular at the time as well. And then obviously Meshuggah as well, we were getting into that stuff. And I think there was just such an awesome collective of all the different bits and pieces that we brought to it. I always said the New Caledonia was the sum of its parts, it was like
sure.
everyone was really unique. You know, like Mike's bass playing was just out of the world, you know. And Fagan was an absolute, you know, musical genius, and Timon was just the consistency.
Yeah, he's the closer. He's kind of...
He just got it. Like, I would actually play off Timon more than Mike, because Timon was so metronomic, and I'm very metronomic, and so Mike would actually more dance over what I was doing on bass. So it's kind of like contrary to most bands, the drummer usually tries to lock in with the bass player, but I always saw Mike as almost like a melodic instrument, and Timon was my rhythm section, which is the same way that Stevie talks about Timon too, I've noticed over the years, because he's just so, I don't know, it's like this German style of guitaring or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, isn't it like that, isn't it?
Even though it doesn't sound like that a lot of the time,
but
he's so on the money, you know?
Yeah, he has always been like that. He's a consistent guy.
Yeah, he is,
There's something about the way, it's just his whole considered approach to life, even, it feels like that.
Like totally. Yeah,
he's got a metronomic life, maybe.
Yeah. And those guys always pulled out the best of my playing. And so the Tool tribute was good because it led to the New Caledonia. But the Tool tribute helped because the memory thing, obviously learning those songs, I never wrote anything down, so it really tested my memory. And so by the time I got to New Caledonia...
Yeah, and had to used to smoke heaps of weed and have to do... I think like the more weed we smoked, the more confusing the music got.
Absolutely, bro.
Instead of going reggae and getting simpler, we made it more mental.
Well, because, I remember we would go up to the jam space and we would smoke all the way through, and I'd have like maybe 1 or 2 bottles of wine down beside me, man. Like that was the glory days, you know? And then we would like finish a jam of 4 or 5 hours and we would have Electrolegs, the song, you know, which essentially is about 50 different songs if we actually fleshed the ideas out. Yeah. But we were so like bang, 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 bang. It was like, okay, how can we stick those 2 parts together? And that was sort of how I always saw my role in that band. It was to actually, it was to glue everything together to make it cohesive. It was like to make the complicated uncomplicated, to make it digestible. Because the boys always came at me with these really atonal, weird things that I'd never heard before. And I was just trying to make sense of it, you know? So the only way that I could make sense of it was just, I don't know, try and put time over it, I suppose.
And still none of it really makes sense to me. It made more sense to me then. Now that I don't play any sort of confusing music anymore, I'm just, those chops of mine are completely gone.
Yeah, mine haven't.
I know.
Mine have been growing, man.
Yeah, we're watching that John Theodore thing and the Thomas Hark or whatever.
Yeah. That was really good too. The only reason I did that, the first one of those was the Meshuggah medley. And back to Timon, the reason why I did it was because one night when we were having a few beers, I had mentioned, oh man, I reckon this is before drumming videos were a big thing on YouTube. I mean, I did this years ago. And we were having a drink, and I remember saying to Timon, I was like, man, I've got this idea. I reckon like all of Thomas Hark's best parts, but like played as like a medley. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, no one could do that, man. And that was it, bro. I was like, give me 3 months. Purely just out of ego alone. And it turned into this like, man, it completely overtook me, I built the song in Reaper, so all the parts that I wanted to play, made it a cohesive track, and then I listened to that 10-minute track, like I reckon maybe 20 or 30 times a day at least, maybe 40. Because I learned to do it
for months?
For 3 months. It took me 12 weeks to do it, but the first 10 weeks were just learning the parts at home. I didn't take it to the drum kit until the last 2 weeks. And then I just did like a binge session on the kit, and then we recorded it.
That's right. You've told me even with learning those Miami Horror sets, you just listen to it lots and lots and lots.
Yeah, because I work out a lot, and so I can just kind of, I'm happy to listen to something 10 times in a row. If it's about, like when I was learning your set for the Perth show, which was the first time I played with you in like 10 years or something.
Yeah, it had been a while.
And that was an hour-long set, right? It was quite a big set.
I think in that 1 hour, you put one extra kick drum at the end of a song finish, and that was the one mistake that you made.
I still lose sleep over it.
But apart from that, it was perfect. And we just had the one rehearsal. We're like, do you want to do another one? No, I'd probably like to get home, thank you.
Yeah, I've got to see my kids. But I remember sitting on my rower in there and just watching your YouTube clip, bro, over and over and over and over. And at the time, I was doing like 21-kilometer rows. So that takes me 1 hour and 20 minutes. So I could listen to the songs that I needed to 1.5 times, and the next day I'd do it again and do another 1.5. And I've just got this thing where like when I have to learn something, maybe it's an ego thing, I don't know, but I just am very happy to, I know the process is just time. I just have to put the time in. I just got to show up. So by showing up, I just have to listen to it or watch it. I understand.
I think that's kind of most things a little bit, isn't it? People probably don't realise.
Nah, and it's so simple, man. All you have to do is show up.
I was reading some of the comments on one of your YouTube videos, and some person said something like, oh, so jealous, or I'm like, Bro, just go fucking practice,
Totally,
man.
bro. I get that a lot on Instagram.
Yeah,
mate.
it's
Oh,
like
I wish I could.
just put the time in.
Because the thing is, man, is that I'm not actually a gifted drummer. I'm not. Stevie is a gifted drummer, Stevie
Right.
K Jr., because he doesn't touch his drums for months and he'll get on and just destroy them. I work my fucking ass off.
Yeah, you're playing.
I've never stopped, bro. Like, luckily I'm OCD, and drumming for me is just an outlet. So I've never stopped playing. Like, when all the boys have sort of gone through their waves, and Michael Taylor hasn't touched his bass since the New Caledonia did a thing a few years ago.
Very common that.
Yeah, it is. But for me, it's like, I just have to keep playing. So point being is that when people say, oh, you're so lucky, or I wish I could do that, I'm like, fuck, man, I've been playing for 20 years this year, and I feel like I should be infinitely better for the amount of time that I put in. I'm just happy to grind, because at least it keeps me mentally stable.
Yeah.
You know, it's something to occupy. And I obviously, because I've been doing it for so long now, I say this a lot, I'm like, I would never stop playing because I've put so much work into it. I've invested so much into it.
Yes.
If I was to turn my back on it now, what the fuck was that for? And I'm too proud. I'm like, you know, like I've put so much time and money and effort, and drumming has like made a lot of decisions in my life, moving cities, moving countries, and all those things. If I was to stop playing now, what the fuck? It's not even an option, man. You know, and I'm lucky I just don't have to apply it to a musical project. So every time I sit on the kit, it's a creative outlet. That's where I'm at.
Are you wanting to get a band, like keep doing new Cal stuff, or join a band, or start something new? Or
I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, I think that Timon and Fagan and Michael Taylor, that combination will always pull better out of me than any other combination.
There's something to that. The guys or the people that you start with and grow up with become. I notice a lot of people who, when the band breaks up, don't join another band. It's like they will only play with the guys that are the guys that they played with.
Bro, Newcal's the only band I've ever been in.
Yeah, that's.
But I've done a lot of projects.
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of like working gigs, you know. But I've thought about this the other day. The Newcal is the only band I've been in, and I think that says a lot, you know, because I felt like, I mean, you think about it, that was in terms of like my musical tastes and stuff, and like a platform for me to be the player that I always wanted to be.
Yeah.
I would never get that again. Like, I can't think of, because I don't really like listening to fusion or other versions of fusion and prog and stuff, but when I hear Timon do something, or Michael Fagan, I'm like, that is dope. But there's not many musical instances where I'm not really that impressed by many things these days, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, do you listen to music and you're that impressed by it?
No, of course not.
No, but
we're
melody
old.
and songs, yes, but I'm not, I just don't, nothing really gets me off anymore.
No.
You know?
I'm not sure if that's age though, and it's
I think it's
like,
a bit of age.
Definitely, there was the things that we liked then, and then now you're just every now and again there's something that comes along though, and it impresses you.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what was.
But I don't know if it's like technical kind of things as much.
Like, do you know Lewis Cole?
Nah.
Is it Lewis Cole?
J. Cole, I know him. He's a rap guy. That quite impressed me.
Yeah, there's a guy called Lewis Cole, and he's based in LA actually, and he's really good. He's like a drummer, but he plays all the parts on his albums, and has a live band, and it's just.
Is he sort of in that New York, New Jazz, Thundercat, Flying Lotus,
Nah, he's doing his own
Kamasi
thing.
Washington kind of?
It's like real dancey, man. You would actually really like it.
Okay.
It's got a real
To be
strong
honest, I
backbeat.
don't really like dance music. People think that
Pigeonhole.
because I'm in a dance band, like, oh yeah, you really like it. It's like, I probably would actually hate it.
You actually probably would like it, because Greg and Timon really like it as well.
Like, if I was thinking about basically anything that Timon's ever really recommended me, usually I'm into.
Yeah, I don't have to give him that credit, but you're probably right.
Yeah, well, he's been was the gatekeeper for a long time for everything.
He was the source, eh?
Yeah, totally. And now that I don't see him very often, I don't really have a source anymore.
Yeah, neither do I.
So I haven't been listening to anything new. I just keep going back to old stuff.
Nostalgic stuff.
Yeah, I'm in real nostalgia zone at the moment.
But how good is that, though?
It's great. I'm trying to, I mean, all the colours, we're just trying to, the whole new record and the new stuff we're doing is trying to make it sound like the 90s and everything that we love, but still like our version of it and as much us as we can, but milking the nostalgia teat.
Yeah.
But in a way will appeal to all of our friends and all of us. Like, I know that that's what I want to hear, more of the thing that I loved, but there's only so much of it that was recorded back then, so you kind of got to find a new way to do it.
Yeah, it's funny because my relationship with music is very emotional based. I've noticed that. Like, I listen to stuff that I know I'm going to get some emotional residue out of. Like, it's going to rinse something on me. I don't just listen to stuff for no reason. So I go into, if I put something on, I'm trying to access something emotionally, whether it's a nostalgic thing for happiness or sadness or whatever. Like, I've used Love You Should Have Come Over for the good times and the bad times, you know? Like,
You still go back to that one?
nah, not really these days, but point being, like, or even like Kid A, How to Disappear Completely, like I'll go back to that.
Yeah.
And it can make me feel awesome, or it can make me think about some really sad shit. And I like it. I go into it going, all right, bring it on.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
You know, and I really like it that it still nostalgically pulls that residue out of me, and maybe it's just because it's like...
I guess that's true. Like there's certain... You're not going to find that with newer music, maybe, because you haven't had the time.
Past the age, bro.
Yeah, you're past the age.
That's what it is. Because the thing is, would you listen to Rage Against the Machine if they came out now?
Well, probably not.
No, I honestly don't
But
think
if there was a band as sick as that, but I wouldn't.
You would never know. That's
no,
the thing.
I wouldn't know. There probably is one right now, but I just go, oh, they're rubbish.
Or they're not Rage.
Yeah, they're just not.
And that's
Rage.
the thing, because
yeah.
we were at that age where we were so impressionable, it's left these stamps in me,
Yeah,
so I can put on
indelible
Rage
marks in
now.
your spirit a little bit.
Yeah, and I can still listen to all that great groove rock stuff. Man, I still listen to Limp Bizkit just purely for the production
just
value.
for John Otto on those
Yeah,
drums.
man,
I was
exactly.
listening to him the other day.
I was listening to it
stuff.
this morning, work
Yeah.
out. It was great. And I'm happy to talk about it now too. There was
Yeah,
a
of
period
course.
there where I wouldn't even murmur the name. I've still got a couple of bands that I haven't mentioned in a long time that I'll chuck on, but I won't do it here either. I'm not ready.
Interesting. I don't have that whole kind of secret shame thing. I realised that there's no shame anymore, so it just doesn't really matter.
There is, bro.
What's the most shameful? Who would it be?
I'm not
Well,
gonna
you
go
can't
there.
say it. Okay, can you give me one that's not one that you listen to, but that's similar?
Well, Limp Bizkit would have been one 5 or 6 years ago. I probably wouldn't have mentioned it, but now I'm comfortable with them myself.
Yeah, I think I was the same actually as well, but I probably didn't listen to it for all that time.
Yeah, same. And I almost like probably wanted to, but was kind of like, oh, well, no one else is, so I better not.
Yeah,
I better
totally.
not be the guy racking up their views on Spotify, you know. Or my Spotify will be telling people, you know.
Yeah, you got to turn
Like
that
George
function.
Michael I can handle. Man, that collaboration with Elton John, Don't Let the Sun Go Down on
Yeah,
Me, that live version.
absolutely.
Man, I'll listen to that all day, every day. No
Yeah.
shame in that.
No.
But Limp Bizkit 5 years ago, maybe not, you know.
Yeah, okay. I was saying to someone else in one of the other interviews I was doing about how I have been mentioning it now. Jeff Buckley, I wouldn't really talk to anyone about it because it just became such a...
Cliche.
Yeah, cliche sort of
bummer,
thing.
eh?
And Prince kind of became like that a little bit as well, but
Yeah.
10 years ago he was still kind of not as cool or something. It was still like unique to be into it, and then there's a few then you just go, I just don't want to mention it anymore.
And you were getting quite paired with Prince too.
I was obsessed.
Yeah, but everyone acknowledged it as well, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you were definitely... Like, whenever I thought of you, I thought of Prince.
Totally.
Yeah,
When we
absolutely.
were doing Peacocks, that was what the whole thing was.
I know, and you fucking nailed it. That first Peacocks album is so good, man.
Thanks, man.
So have you listened to it in a while?
I think I listened to it. I listened to it the other day, like
it up?
a month ago. Yeah, I did. And then I messaged Sam, just saying, bro, we were real hard out. We were so...
I love those texts. Bro, we were awesome, mate.
Yeah, I didn't say awesome.
I know, but you should have.
Yeah, but it was more just we were so committed to the cause.
It was incredible. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, with the breaking glass of, like, Dangerous or something.
Yeah,
like,
we were so into it. Well, you know, to come from everything that we were just talking about, all the proggy rock stuff, and then we got really burnt out on listening to that and thought, what's the next thing to do? And it was, well, let's make pop.
But with almost a prog fundamental, like your understanding of music at that point was a massive contributor to how simple and structured it was.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, you have to learn the rules to break them. You know,
Yeah,
like
totally.
you got to know.
But it was so fun to go in that completely opposite sort of direction at that point in time because we had all just been rocking so hard. Like, right, I just want to put on some makeup, put on some tights and some feather boas.
Bro, you got a red blazer on me. No one's done it since. I mean, shit. This is as colourful as I've been since
true.
then, man.
Yeah, you've been monochromatic before and since.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's gold.
Yeah, I'd sort of forgotten about that. But I guess we've always been... While you're in the middle of it, you never really think about what it is that you're doing. But we've always been real hard out. About
Yeah.
whatever New Cal would have been like that, you know, all that stuff that you guys were doing.
Yeah, the New Cow was a funny one because it happened, like we had an album all of a sudden, and then we got 3-4-star reviews in New Zealand. You know, New Zealand musician.
You guys just didn't keep going.
No, the boys moved to Melbourne, bro.
Yeah,
like literally
and then
right
you
after
came-
the album came
and
out.
you came later, is that right?
Yeah, so the way that it worked was that they decided that they wanted to move to Melbourne, which is fair enough, but Ashton was only 18 months at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember going, fuck, if I leave now, my son obviously, if I leave now, he won't remember me leaving, and that's not a good thing. And so, bro, it was there's been 2 or 3 hard decisions that I've made in my time. Like, everything about my ego was saying don't do it, but everything in my heart knew that it was the right thing to do, and that was the first one. So knowing that that band was the best platform for me at that time for where I was at, coming out of the Tool tribute, and being the expressive player that I've always been. Like, I've always been really happy to...
The New Caledonia could have very easily... I was looking at that record and watching, it's like, you guys would have been a thing.
We could have been like... I've always thought that the New Cal could have got to that sort of jugger status.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean?
Yeah, it could have become like the band's band.
Yeah.
It would have definitely become... There were people around the world who would still now, if they knew about it, would go out and watch it to see you guys do that freaky
Absolutely.
shit.
And like when I put it on Spotify and then did that like playthrough and stuff, it's quite timeless in that sense in the way that it's received. People still think of it as a new band because the music still holds up.
Yeah.
Not the drumming from back then, but definitely the music. And so point being is that when they left, when they decided to leave, I just said I couldn't go. And that was kind of the beginning of the end. So I thought that was the end, but a year later, they couldn't find a drummer still, so they asked if I could come over.
Timon was they were drumming between them, eh?
And they auditioned a few people as well, guys that I met once I'd moved here. And like, I think they auditioned... not Otis. Well, they auditioned a few guys anyway, but point being is they couldn't find anyone. And so I said, yeah, okay, my son's a bit older now. Me and Jess were together then. Yeah, we'll move over. Just let me just sort of hang with Ashton a little bit longer. And I moved over, and time can be an evil bitch, you know. And by the time I got here, I was still in the mindset of where I was a year ago, but they were becoming the Quarks at that point.
Yeah, that musical
Crosby,
direction.
Stills and Nash, fucking...
Yeah, they were in a totally different place.
Yeah, it was all like vocals
I remember
and pop
all
songs.
that.
And I was like, hang on, man.
Stan wants to do that Tiki shit. We don't really want to do it anymore.
Yeah, they wanted to be songwriters, and I'm like, what the fuck am I here for then? You don't need me for that shit, you know? And then that's when obviously the Kimbra thing happened, which was our saving grace, because musically Melbourne was destroying us, but Kimbra needed a band. And we were all friends with her, and...
Yeah, I kind of always saw that coming in a way
Did
that you guys would end up being her backing band.
Oh, that's funny. If someone had said that to me when we were back in Hamilton, when she was like 16 at a New Cal gig.
Not then, but once I met her in Melbourne, it seemed to make sense, because everyone was kind of floating around already playing with her. And it's like, why wouldn't you get those guys to be...
Yeah, I suppose so, because we were all just sort of like twiddling our thumbs. I was doing a bit of Miami Horror stuff. I did the Groove in the Mood tour with you guys.
Yeah, and we did some of the Peacocks things.
Yeah, the Peacocks thing.
Nothing was...
Just bits and pieces.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Quarks was just sort of like winding down. The boys actually went on to do the Quarks without me, and they got all into programming and shit. And then like Timon wanted to put stickers over the New Car album to say Quarks, and I was like, you're not fucking doing that, bro. I can put up with some things, but not that, you know. And then the Kimbra train started. And actually that was probably one project that I was a part of that I understood the hype behind it while I was in it. I was like, okay, I was very aware of what it was, the beast that it was going to become, you know. That was a good experience, because it was funny, because coming from the New Cal, which was like 3 rack toms, 2 floor toms, pretty much that kit that I've got there, you know, 4 crashes and all the splashes and stuff, and then playing with her, I was like, oh, fuck all that. And I went down to kick, snare, hats and floor tom, crash and ride, not even a rack tom. Right. And that's how I did the 2 years with her. That's how I interpreted all the songs from the album. That's how I recorded Cameo Lover. It was just real, like, simple. The Sing Sing sessions, it's just all kick, snare, hat.
Yeah, that's right, of course.
And it was so good for my playing, and even just to get away from that, I think it was just like I needed to just like...
I love putting those restrictions on yourself. I think that's great as for any sort of artistic endeavor, is like, how can I change it? How can I do less? What things to sort of grow as a musician?
Yeah, because you look at the guys that don't do that.
Yeah.
Like you look at like Dream Theater or something like that.
Yeah, get more rack toms. Yeah, exactly. You know what I need to do to really develop my skills is get more of
I need a 6-inch tom. That'll really help. And that was cool, because it really helped me refine the pocket playing and just servicing the project more. Because I'd been so lucky up to that point. Every band that I'd been in, like the New Cal and the Tool tribute, were very much about the drums, you know? Not the New Cal, but in the sense that...
You're allowed to do whatever the hell you want.
Exactly, bro. There were no rules, you know?
Yeah.
And so putting these restrictions on myself, or even having them imposed on me, because that's obviously what the music needed, was so good for me. I learned heaps from that.
Yeah.
But I came back with a vengeance, like, obviously.
I mean, where do you see this all going? Is there sort of a vision for the future of it for you?
Fuck, I don't know, man. I was talking to Jess about it the other day, because we were like, the night so a week ago I played at the Australian Drum Festival, and that was 40 minutes on the main stage, to drummers, as I was talking to you
You're
about
becoming
before.
one of the big drum guys now.
No.
But a little bit.
I don't know.
Well, you're telling me before we started recording that you're going to do Drumeo.
I know, I'm aware of it all, the stats, but I don't...
They're the biggest guys in the world, right?
Drumeo is the biggest online education platform, and they get drummers in from all over the world, and very, very notable drummers. And,
Tell me some of the guys that they have.
Well, they just had Jonathan Moffat, who was Michael Jackson's drummer for 30 years. They've just had, they had Stanley Randolph, who was Stevie Wonder's drummer. They had Jeff Buckley's drummer. What's his name?
Matt Johnson.
Matt Johnson. Yeah, they just
love that guy.
Yeah, he's got his lesson on there. And then in the drumming world, Eric Moore, Aaron Spears, Usher's drummer. All the guys, bro.
And Stan Bicknell.
Well, yeah,
time.
yeah. And so it's funny you say that, because I aware when I say some of the best drummers in the world, I'm very aware of what I'm saying, but I'm not talking about it from my perspective.
No, of course not.
I'm just aware that that's sort of the gravity of it. And so, I was saying to Jess after I did the Drum Expo, I was like, it's really funny. It's going to be interesting to see how far I can take this given the limitations that I put on it, because I don't want to tour. I don't want to do anything that doesn't involve the family. I don't want to play in a band.
But there might be a point when the kids are growing up that you're happy to go and do a 2 or 3 month stints, and
Maybe, yeah.
you're happy to leave.
I'll be 45.
Jess is happy to see you go away.
She was always happy with it. That's
Yeah.
the thing. She's always been supportive. She knew what she was getting into. But with the kids, there's only so many times where I get dropped at the airport and my daughter's crying that I can handle it, bro.
I didn't even, yeah.
Oh, dude, honestly, that was when I stopped playing with Eka Vandal. I played with Eka Vandal for 18 months, bro. We did 3 national tours with Birds of Tokyo and a couple of other, Australian sort of iconic bands.
Yeah.
We went to Canada. We did a bunch of stuff. And it's, once again, like the Kimbra thing and even the Miami Horror thing to a degree, because when I was playing with you guys, I remember having a conversation where you guys were like, we're going to go to LA. Would you be interested? And I was like, I just can't, and it's the same thing with Kimbra. When the tour was going to be 3 months long supporting Foster the People around America, I just can't do it, because a lot of people do. I've been thinking about this. A lot of people do that when they have kids.
John Theodore just had a baby, apparently. I was talking to somebody.
And he's here with Queens.
Yeah, he's kind of on the road with Queens. Yeah, he's very much their drummer.
Yeah, so
And
guys
he's just
can
had a
do
kid.
it. I think I can't do it. It's not so much that
it's just a diff. He would still be probably feeling the same shit, but it's
Yeah.
like, maybe I got to bring home the bacon, and this is the only way
Well, to
do it.
That's a good point, actually. I've always had the luxury of, especially in the last 6 years, being a business owner, I've been lucky that I've taken the commodity side of my drumming out. Mm-hmm. I don't rely on
Yeah, but
my drumming.
is that kind of intentional, or did it just sort of happen, or you?
A bit of both. So I've always been a barista. I've always been in cafes and management, all that sort of stuff, as a means to being able to pursue my drumming. But then when my kids got a bit older and Kimbra was taking off, I remember I had a decision. It was either 2 years in with Kimbra at that point, either go further with her or open up a cafe. That was the crossroads.
Yeah.
And that was the second hardest decision I've ever had to make, because I felt like I gave Stevie the golden sticks. I was like, use them well, my friend. Because I went on to watch him do Letterman, Leno.
Yeah, true.
Bro, I watched some pretty hard out shit. I couldn't watch a lot of it for the first 6 months, because when I made that decision not to continue playing with her, like I said, with the new car, I knew it was the right decision, but that was fucking hard, man. Because I had been always working towards being a drummer. And then finally, it was the green light, bro, And so, I think, but then I opened up the cafe because I just sort of knew that would be the right thing to do. And in hindsight, it totally was the right thing to do, man, because I'm at a point now where I've got my roastery, and man, Rumble's by no means killing it, but it generates a steady income for me where I can tap out for times that I need now. The business is stable.
Yeah.
So we're going to the US for 3 weeks, and I can go, okay, great, I'm gonna do Drumeo, and they'll be paying me for a bit of that as well. But taking that financial obligation away from the creative outlet definitely freed me up to be more creative in a sense. And I can see the payoff is going to be massive in another 10 years because I've just been honing my playing, man. So back to your original question, and where is it all going? Bro, the only thing that I want to do is just keep getting better, because I can do that. I understand it. I like the way, I know how I want to approach the drums. I don't know where it's going to appear in the next 10 years or what it's going to be applied to, but as long as I keep showing up and working on the way that I like to play and refining my sound, the doors just keep seeming like they present themselves, and then I can just choose to whether I walk through them or not. you know, to be all like
Yeah, well,
waffly about it.
No. That's kind of what it's about. I mean, it's a creative thing for you as well.
Yeah.
It's funny for me thinking about drums in that way. I'm the worst drummer at.
I've seen you play. You're not the worst.
Not good. I gave up. I realized that I should just keep staying on the guitar. Yeah. When everyone else would sort of be like, would stop at band practice and Jono or Phil, or like the bass player and guitar players in the band would go, I'm now going to have a go on the drums. I'm like, well, why you do that? I'll keep playing guitar. Then I'll be getting another hour better or 15 minutes better than you on the guitar.
Guitario.
Yeah, I'm a little bit guitario. But yeah, it's a hard, I don't know how to write drums or do anything on the drums, and I kind of admire someone who, like yourself, can sit there and post these videos and just be always coming up with new things. And
that's what I'm working on, just trying to find new combos.
Do they play you? Like where does it come from? Where does this sort of...
Well, I think I talk about creativity a lot when I do these drum clinics and stuff, or even on my Instagram, because I get asked about it a lot. And I've come up with some. I've sort of come to this conclusion that creativity comes from one of two main things, right? If you're ever lacking creativity, one of two things has happened. It's either you've actually rinsed yourself too much on that thing. Mm-hmm. So say if you're a teacher to 40 students, you're in 2 covers bands, and then you think on Sunday night you're going to have a bit of creative time, it isn't going to happen, because you've completely drained that pool. Throughout the week, you've just rinsed it out. It's a dry desert. There's nothing. But the other flip side of, so there's that point, and then the other point is that, so if you want to get some creativity back, step back a bit. Get rid of 20 students, get out of one of the covers bands, and let that creativity pool sort of like get a little bit more back in it. And then the other thing is that it's a byproduct of facility. Creativity for me is a byproduct of the things that I can do. So if I ever feel like I can't do anything on the kit, I just need to work on the stuff that I have trouble doing. And then the residue or the byproduct of that is that I've got more to be creative with.
Right.
And so all I have to do is just keep working on stuff that I'm not good at, and then I get really creative again because it's more to be expressive with.
Where does the drive for you come from, though? You're an extremely motivated guy.
I don't know, man. Maybe the ego. Like, I just want to be really good on the drums, and because it's something that I've identified with. It's funny, like, I don't identify as a drummer, but it's an anchor to me. And so, point being is that, like, I started when I was 14. I left home when I was 15. Right, and left school when I was 15. I was only a year in on the drums at that point. Yeah, okay. And then if I think about, I was like couch surfing for the first 6 months, and then I started flatting. I was working at New World for $6 an hour, doing trolleys and shit. And I still kept drumming throughout, man. And then I'm like, okay, so then through the good times and the bad times and all the shit that's happened over the years, the drums have always been there, so I've just always used it as, it's always been there, man. So I just keep doing it because it's always there. I can count on my drums, bro. When I'm going through some shit, they're always there waiting.
I feel the same way about the guitar, definitely, more so than everything. I mean, I guess I can count on music, probably across the board, because I like to do a little bit of everything. But yeah, whenever I'm feeling anything, I'm like, all right, just pick up your guitar and play until you find something or feel something.
Exactly.
Or like it's something, no matter how you feel, it's always there. And I think I have a kid that I sort of mentor in LA, and he was asking me about, he's going, I'm just not really enjoying practicing, and I'm like, well, you're kind of fucked then. You have to to find a way. You got to
dig it, bro.
Yeah.
Because those first few years are rough.
Yeah. You got to enjoy practicing. You got to find a way to actually where it doesn't feel like a chore to be running scales or doing paradiddles or whatever it is.
And that's actually a good point, because I've always been happy to sit down on a practice pad setup.
Yeah.
2 pads, bro, I'm good to go. And I always say to my son, I'm like, man, if you can get used to practice pads and always wear ear protection, your future's set. Because those 2 things are so easy to manage, but they're a big determination in terms of how good you're going to get.
Yeah.
Ear protection's a big one. Like, obviously being a drummer, like if you're going to have tendinitis in 10 years, that's going to completely impose every decision you make. But I've never had that because I've worn lawn mowing earmuffs since I was like 30. Yeah, I still do it now, bro. It's funny, man. I want to wear them on stage, but people tell me I shouldn't.
Could be your look.
Yeah.
Definitely like the guy from Linkin Park.
I did it with their commando, and they told me to stop wearing them. Because for that reason.
Yeah, it's not cool. But maybe it can become...
Well, comfort is cool, bro.
Yeah. Maybe.
Maybe not.
Otherwise,
I'd wear trackies every day. Yeah. But yeah, so, what were we talking about?
That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Do you want to? Has fame ever been a motivator? How do you feel about that in general?
I don't know. It's a hard one. Maybe. I mean, I've got this real love and hate relationship with the social media hype and all the things.
You're a big
that's happened.
Instagrammer. You've got a lot of Instagram followers.
I've got a lot of followers, but I wouldn't consider myself, like I kind of have, I don't know, maybe I am, but I've got a lot of followers, but I definitely have had my turmoil with the whole thing. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've only got 15 posts on my page.
Yeah, I noticed that. I had a look before I came over.
Yeah.
Do you just clear out the backlog of stuff?
I did that about a year ago.
Yeah.
I was sick of seeing my videos getting shared and like shit that I'd done a year ago or 6 months prior, with the blurb that I write as well, getting like sent around and people using my videos to like promote their t-shirts and shit like that. And I was like,
right.
I don't need to be reminded of every fucking brain fart that I have. I like the Instagram thing because it's like a diary. Like, no, it's not a diary. It's like a blog or just a verbal release. I just go, this is what I was working on yesterday. And then I kind of just write down what I'm thinking, and then I let it go, and then I kind of like wash away with, like, I don't know, I feel it's gone. But the problem with Instagram is that it doesn't go, and it can be reshared 1,000 times. And I felt like I just had like every single post sitting on me as a weight. And so I just went through about a year ago and deleted everything bar like 15 posts, and every time I put up a new post, I delete the last one.
Right, okay.
Just for a headspace thing. And also it's to keep my ego in check too, because I like as well as the Instagram thing is gone, I'm very aware that there's no value to it. Mm-hmm. It's just so fucking empty, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, but a lot of people that are big on Instagram put a lot of value on it. And I'm very aware.
It's sort of a house built on sand, the whole thing sort of,
100%.
like none of it's really real.
You need to be able to let it go.
Yeah.
And so now I'm happy for it to go now. Like, I don't give a shit, but I like doing it still. But I don't need it. A lot of people need it. I don't need it. Mm-hmm. But I enjoy doing it. It's like a diary entry or something.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think I understand people wanting to put something out into the world and get people to say things back to them, to just kind of feel like you're not alone on this planet, on a sort of on like a to take it to that level.
No, yeah, for sure, definitely.
I think that's a huge part of it, is just sort of to validate your thoughts.
And the likes, and the comments.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, you really do still have to search within a lot more than that. Like,
yeah,
it
has to go further. And it went further for me, man. So when I first started doing Instagram, that was a byproduct of stopping with Eka Vandal, because I like playing live, bro. That's why I play the drums. I do it to play in front of people. Yeah. But I took that out of my life, and then I realised there was a hole there. And so I started posting on Instagram, because at least it gave me some feedback. Mm-hmm. But then over time, when it started, because in 8 months, bro, I went from 2,000 followers to 110,000. And that's a very, very big climb, bro. And so things got really noisy really fast, if you know what I mean.
How did that happen so quickly? What is it just...
Well, probably the single kick stuff was the first thing. So the single kick technique that I do was getting a little bit of hype about it, and then the chops and the way to build. If you want to build on Instagram, you've got to give bigger pages a reason to share your content, because that's what brings in followers. Like, people do hashtags, but that's not what generates followers. Like, my company started sharing my videos, and they've got 500,000 followers. And so, like, some days I'd get like, if Pearl Drums reposted my video, I would get like 10,000 followers. On a good, maybe on a good week or something.
Yeah. And very quickly it adds up, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it gets really noisy. And so a year ago when I deleted all the posts, I also turned off every notification from my social media. I also put the apps on like the third page on my phone. And so if I ever want to go into them, I have to actively swipe, and like it doesn't sound like much, but it actually is. It's quite a lot, to keep it at bay.
Well, it's nice. That's good to see what it can do for you, and go, right, I've got to take the step back to kind of get away from it a little bit.
Yeah, and I kind of burned the bridge a little bit too, man, because like when I deleted those 15 posts, I knew that algorithmically it wasn't going to work for me. And so now, like, I don't get anywhere near the exposure, but that's good. Like, I'm stoked about that. It's not as noisy as what it used to be.
Yeah.
And you look at, like, there's a very big drumming world on Instagram. I don't know if there probably is for guitarists and stuff as well.
I don't follow any of them.
Okay, well, it's very nerdy and stuff. And so now guys have full studio setups just for Instagram.
Right.
And I'm like, that's fucking crazy, man.
Well, yeah, I guess it's a lot easier than a YouTube channel because you don't have to be uploading it. It's just like, it's there, you film it, and
Boom.
it's
And
done.
I mean, bro, I put my phone on milk crates. I've
Yeah, I
never
noticed the milk
changed my
crates,
format.
yeah.
And I refuse to, you know.
But it sounds fine as well.
Yeah, the room's really generous here. It's partly due to the warehouse. But when I see these guys investing so much in this platform that they don't have control over, their content gets distributed free, you know, like it gets put out there, and you just have no control over it anymore. I don't know. I just don't really think it's very healthy.
You must have had offers to play with some big guns, have you?
I've had offers from bands, but I seem to get pigeoned into like metal sort of things because of the way that I play, but it's actually
Yeah,
not what I like.
of course.
So that's what I'm saying. Like with Timon and Fagan, my playing works well with their melodic playing, but I'm not a metal guy. Even though I did a Meshuggah medley, I actually don't really like metal.
No.
I like Meshuggah.
Yeah.
But they're like their own thing.
I know exactly
you know?
what you mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the same.
It's a hard one. So I actually prefer more like soul and R&B if I was, or even like doing what I did with you guys. Like for me, that's more satisfying as a gig, because the way that I play doesn't service a gig.
Yeah.
You know, that's just
Well, it's like sort of
expression.
about the people that you've got to vibe with more than anything, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, like, I mean, we do an hour on stage, but it's just good hangs, you know?
Yeah, totally. Well,
Yeah.
that's a huge part of
Yeah,
what it's
I don't know
all
if
about.
I'll ever find a platform for my drumming that's not the New Caledonia, but I don't necessarily need it. You know, as long as I just keep working on my playing, I'm happy doing that, man.
Yeah. Some of the questions I like to ask people is sort of what they think music offers to the people of the planet in general. What, like, is being an artist an important thing, or are you just sort of superfluous kind of,
Well,
like a narcissistic asshole?
I can talk about what it means to me in terms of music. Like, I mean, it helps me no matter.
Well, you're talking about the Radiohead songs and all those
exactly.
things, like emotionally
I'm
helping.
34 years old, but I still have a very strong emotional connection that I can tap into when I need to, and music does that. If I didn't have music, I couldn't tap into those things. It's funny because, like,
So having like, I need to feel that emotion, so I will use music to draw it out of me to help me.
stay connected, man.
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
like my old lady passed away in May, and a song came on Spotify this morning while I was working out, and it was a song that I was listening to really heavily around that time, and that song has now been imprinted to that emotional thing.
Right.
And I chucked the song on again because I was like, oh, that was really nice to think about mum.
Sure.
Yeah, and I didn't realize at the time that I was imprinting that song to her, but it happened around the same time, and I even learnt it on guitar just because I was really enjoying the song. I'm not going to say what the song was. But then it came on Spotify, and I was like, oh, and it was so nice to connect with that because it only happened 3 months ago or whatever, and then I wanted to relive it again, so I put it on again, and it was just nice. And that's what I like about music.
Yeah, so when you need to, when you think about certain things,
When I
or you
want to
might-
feel, man.
No, but yeah, I know I do know what you mean. I guess I hadn't really thought about it so much. I was listening to the Mutton Birds, that song "Anchor Me."
Oh, how good is that
Great
song,
tune.
bro?
But when it came out when we were younger, like, fucking gay shit. What's
Yeah,
that?
no
Like,
way.
not into it at all because we were listening to Limp Bizkit and everything. But
Yeah.
recently,
Oh, man,
I
that's
was
a
just
great song.
yeah, and it really, I was feeling like wanted to feel that.
You want to
kind
feel
of-
morose or something?
Yeah,
eh?
yeah.
That's good.
Needed that emotion, and every day I would just.
I need that, bro. I need the peaks and troughs. I need to feel that stuff. Like Op Shop, No Ordinary Thing.
I don't know if I know that one.
Oh,
What's
that's that-
Op Shop's that a New Zealand band?
It's a New Zealand band, yeah.
Okay.
My love, it's
I have-
an
I have-
ordinary
I
thing.
have to look it up.
That's
Op Shop,
such a good ordinary
okay.
thing. Another very morose song. And I'll just listen to that. I don't listen to any of their other songs, but that song I'm like, I need it every now and then, you know? That's probably a good way to put it. Music for me is just saying something that I need every now and then for different emotional states. And
Yeah, sure. Yes, I was talking to another friend about it. He's like, he likes music that makes him want to kick over a wheelie bin. Like, yeah, I know exactly what you
Nice
mean.
one, yeah.
Like certain songs that get you pumped like that sort of fire you.
Yeah, I suppose I never want to not be able to express myself. And like, I've always been pretty open with you when we catch up.
Yeah.
I don't have anything that I can't say, and I always want to stay connected to, because I've got kids and I'm teaching them about emotional sort of state of minds and stuff, especially a boy. I want to make sure that they always see me vulnerable in that sense, you know, and I have a really strong emotional connection to those things, and then talk about it. And when I catch up with people, we get pretty heavy pretty quick.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I don't mean to do that, but for some reason it always fucking happens, you know, we dig in.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I love the people that we can just get into it, whatever it is. I mean, that's kind of why I even started this podcast. I don't want to ever be afraid of talking about anything. I was talking to Jamie Liddell the other day, and we started talking about suicide, and he kind of got a little, not uptight, but he's like, oh, that's a bit heavy and things. I'm like, oh man, it doesn't matter, bro. It's like, it's a part of life. But some people, I think...
I like Jamie, he's awesome.
Yeah, he was great. It was really nice
Compass.
to sit down with him as well.
That's one of my vinyl albums.
Compass? That's the Chris Taylor one, right? Yeah.
That is such a good fucking album, man.
Yeah, he's the man.
I've only got like 15 vinyls, you know, like D'Angelo Voodoo and
classic
even
ones.
Justice with the Cross.
The first album.
Yeah,
Very
fuck. And then, Jamie Liddell, Compass. That's a good album. Yeah, maybe that stuff is too heavy for some people, but for me, I don't give a shit.
Well, yeah, you can't hide from anything. Like, the world's not gonna spare you.
It's not gonna cotton wool
anything. You. No, so I guess I like to sort of be able to always talk about everything, because it's the only way to start to understand it more.
Yeah. Yeah, and, you know, like, it's funny because I'm really excited about where I'll be at 44, you know? Like, you talk about motivation and things like that, and it's like, if I stay not doing anything, then I will be the same at 44. But if I keep working towards shit, then I will be something different at 34. Or, like, I'm just constantly trying to work on myself, and I'm excited by the perks of your labour, I suppose, you know, in every sense, mentally, physically, and drumming and all of that. I just like to see the fruits of my labour. So that's why I keep working towards shit, because it's exciting. I don't know what it's going to reveal.
So you're an optimistic guy.
I think so.
Are you, this is a question that I always ask, about the sort of future of humanity, optimistic or pessimistic, Stan?
I've actually had this conversation with you, I think, and I am optimistic. I'm optimistic in the sense that love will prevail.
I think love will always sort of prevail, but it doesn't mean that we won't have sort of wrecked the joint.
No, there'll be some shit that will happen along the way.
Yeah.
But I think that, you know, I'm optimistic about it by and large. Yeah. Because I think that we are innately good. You know, there's just some bad eggs in there that can spread.
I'd like to think so, definitely. I feel like most people that you meet, even the ones that they say are bigots and racists and all sorts of things, if you kind of can break it down or get them one-on-one or have a sort of gentle conversation where there's not a bunch of furor or noise around people, they will kind of open their hearts, I think, don't they? There's not many people that are that closed up and stuck, and if they are, they don't mean to be, it's because they're unwell.
Well, yeah, and they've been raised in a bad environment, you know, and hopefully that just gets phased out.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know if that necessarily happens, though, does it?
Nah.
How do you
but they say that this is, believe it or not, this is the safest time that we've ever had. It's just that we live in a 24/7 media that we can hear about every fucking issue.
Very, very true.
I don't believe the hype and the problems. Obviously, there are some issues out there, but it's not. This is the safest time that it's ever been.
Yeah, no,
in humanity.
I think that's why I don't even look or read anything on the news.
Neither, bro. Have you ever checked in on the news lately?
No, I don't. No,
I did the other day, and it was horrific.
It's just, I mean, I know that there's some stuff going on that maybe I should know about, but I know they're just trying to fuck with me and make me think that everyone's evil.
Yeah, famine, rape, murder.
Yeah,
in the first 3 pages, I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck. And that classic Bill Hicks line where he's like, I look out my window and I just see birds chirping, you know? It's brilliant. That's what I like. That's what I think about. I think we'll be fine. There'll be some shitheads along the way, but there's always shitheads.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
I think it's just because nothing's going away, and we can advertise and promote everything, so it's sort of, you just think that...
We live in a content society, content-driven, and because it's 24/7, we need content refreshed every 30 seconds, whether it be news or whatever. So every shitty story about one person in Florida that did something stupid, we have to hear about now.
Yeah,
We don't need to hear about that guy in Florida that did something dumb. You know?
But I think that's what I find interesting about Instagram is I get the people who are promoting something or have something to sell. Yeah, business, or have got something that they're that's worthwhile. I mean, it's always going to be debatable what's worthwhile to share. But I don't quite understand the people who are just putting their lives on there that aren't selling or promoting anything other than just look at me, validate me, but for...
You can say that's what I'm doing, though.
But I think you're providing some sort of service. I think it's different. And I think at least you're showing a talent.
Yeah, I suppose so.
You are. There is a difference.
I think the only thing that I do different on my Instagram to a lot of my peers is that I show the process more than the product. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just showing what I'm doing on the kit and like little brain farts about things that I've progressed on. And I'm happy to talk about the trials and tribulations that come with working on a craft.
Yeah.
So
but I'm talking about just people just showing a photo of them just standing around in their like shorts or whatever. And then just putting... The main one for me is the people showing their pretty picture of themselves, but then with some generic inspirational quote that they've got, because they don't want to just say, look at me, I look hot today, or I feel good, that they want to promote.
Yeah, I can't
He
stand
who
that
falls
stuff.
down 7 times but stands up 8 is the true hero. And like, look at my tits. Just say, look at my tits.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
We
don't need all the bullshit.
Nah, we know what we're here for. We just want to look at your tits. It's fine.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree with that. I know, and that's all happened really quickly too. It's so weird to think of what it would be like as a teenager now.
Yeah, I mean, every older generation is looking at the younger generation saying, well, it must be difficult. How do you deal with it? Definitely. And we're all fine enough.
Yeah.
But I do know what you mean. I mean, it must be funny with... How old's Ashton now?
He's 14, man.
14, he's right in the thick of it.
He is, yeah. And so that's what it comes back to, is good parenting. And like, for better or worse, I definitely, like, there's me and his mum and his stepdad and my wife, so his stepmum. And we've all had... Like, we're all just like surrounding him with constant support.
He's always seemed like a good boy, and
he is a good kid, man.
Disciplined him very, very well. No, but I respect. Most of the time, you see parents being useless and not ever telling you. You were always telling him off.
Yeah,
but not in a way
telling
that
him off, just keeping him in line.
Yeah, but not in a way that would stifle him in any way. I never felt like it seems like he just ended up being a good guy and a good kid. And
yeah, he is a good kid, and it's funny. Like, one of the things that I've been instilling in him since day one, and you might have even been privy to this, is making sure that when he comes across any of my friends, he looks them in the eye and he shakes their hand. Mm-hmm. And so we've done that for years, right? And to the point where I'd even prep him, I'd be like, okay, we're about to get to blah, blah, blah's house. When we get there, you shake his hand, you say hi, and all that sort of stuff. Like, just teaching him how to communicate, because obviously that's such a valuable thing. And now he just does it by default. It's paid off, man, where he'll come here to Rumble. He'll walk in and he'll go straight up to Alex, shake his hand, say hello. He'll do it with Joe, he'll do it with Matt. And that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, of course.
Because that's really, really awesome, fundamental, good shit that is not seen a lot in the younger generation. Look someone in the eyes and shake their hand, greet them.
But yeah, I think like we're saying, of all the internet and the posts and all that, it does just come down to good parenting more than anything. That stuff's going to have an impact on them, what's floating around in the world, but if you can still guide them through and tell them what's real.
I still found porn mags, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we all did. If you can
it didn't ruin me.
No. How do you go with, does he ask you about drugs or smoking weed? And
I've told him about my time with weed, because he lives in Raglan. And because he's 14, like, I had my first smoke around that age, I think, if not a little bit older. And so we went for a kayak around this island in Ahopi once, and took about an hour to get around it. And I had a big chat with him then, and told him about how it definitely, I was honest, man. I was like, look, man, some of my times on pot were awesome, because they completely opened my mind and expanded my ideas and shaped me to who I am now as a very liberal, open-minded thinker who doesn't think there's one way to do anything, their whole mindset, 1,000 ways to skin a cat, just find your way and blah, blah, blah. But I also remember a time where I thought, fuck, I don't see myself ever not smoking this shit,
Interesting.
I would do a wake and bake, spots, all that sort of stuff. This is around when I was 18, and then I found out I was having him, and I instantly connected to that and was like, well, I don't want to do that stoned, and so I just stopped smoking weed. So I was kind of like, and I told him that as well. I was like, you were my little saving grace, because even though you weren't planned, you came into my life at just the right time. I was in a Tool tribute. I was smoking, drinking. I had no reason to give a fuck. I had no reason to respect myself. I was just going for it. There was never a no. It was all yeses. It's hold for a reason. Take it, do it. You know what I mean? And then I found out I was having him, and I was like, oh, well, I can't do that in an inebriated state. And so I just pulled my shit together. I haven't told him about drugs yet, though, like my experiences with drugs, but like hard drugs. But
yeah,
and by hard drugs, I don't mean heroin.
Yeah, everything else though.
Everything else, though, yeah.
That's the only one I never got around to, really.
And I probably won't tell him about this podcast, but that stuff also played a pretty important role in my life, man.
Of course.
And I still reflect on to this day that I know how important that shit was to me, man.
Yeah.
It's not the fucking bad thing that everyone thinks it is, but it can be if it's not handled properly,
Yeah, of course.
And you need to know when to bail.
Yeah,
pull
which
the parachute.
I've never had a problem getting out.
Yeah.
I don't think, but some people obviously do. I never understand why you couldn't, once you know you're fucking up or it's gone too far, why you wouldn't go, okay, cool.
I know, I never got to that point.
Nah, I mean, I pushed things, but I sort of knew when it was time to stop.
Yeah. Circumstance always sort of ended it for me in that sense. I was kind of lucky. I never saw the bottom.
Yeah, but I think you wouldn't, that's because you wouldn't have gone there anyway. It's not
People have said that before, maybe,
you.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I kind of look at it different, but you're probably right. I was probably never going to be like that.
Yeah.
But I loved it though.
Yeah, it was great fun. It's some of the best times ever. I wouldn't take any of it back.
No, exactly.
And I'm sad that I can't do it anymore, but I know that it won't work anymore.
Well, that's the thing, man. It doesn't actually, you'll never get from it what you did.
No, that's
never.
it. No.
That's
why I stopped everything. I know it's not going to do it anymore.
Exactly. And so now with everything that I've learned and done, it's great. Now I'm just I'm just pulling out my own buzz,
Yeah.
for want of a better way to put it. And I actually just like control as well of my own life. I like control of my mind. I like control of my state of mind. I like control of, I'm a very self-controlled person, if you know what I mean.
How do you go when you lose control, Stan?
Not very well. I don't deal with change very well if I don't have control over it.
What are some things you can't control? I'm trying to think of an example. I suppose
I can tell you what annoys me that I've been working on. If it's the end of the week and I get home at 5:30 and I get in and Jess is like, our friends are coming over, whoever, maybe it's Jim and Darts or whatever, they're coming over at 6 o'clock for a drink, and I'm like, hang on, what? I didn't know about that. I didn't know that was happening. And I find it hard to, because I control my shit so tightly now, I'm so tightly wound in that sense, I find it hard to be real time with those little things.
Yes.
Yeah, be flexible. I should be like, oh great, I haven't seen them. But for me, in my head, I'm like, it's the end of my week. I want to put my track pants on. I want to fucking chill and not have to talk to anyone. Because my job here, I have to talk to a lot of people.
Yes.
I do all the training and the dispatch and stuff. So yeah, I'm working on that.
You are working on that?
Yeah, for sure, because Jess doesn't like it when I'm like that. And so now I might still feel it, but I don't express it.
The passive-aggressive approach.
Yeah, I'll shut down at about 8:39 though, where I'll move to the couch. Uh-huh. But I get up at 5, so I'm pretty much checking out at that point anyway.
It's interesting, at least though, that you're aware of the fact that this is something that
I'm aware of all those things,
yeah, I suppose I like that about you, Stan.
Yeah, I'm constantly working at it, man.
You are.
And that's the thing, because a 44-year-old Stan, he'll be better for it. And he'll be going, fuck, shot 34-year-old Stan, you really put in some work there, That's not an issue anymore.
Yeah.
It'll pay off, I just got to show up,
That's basically it, isn't it?
Yeah.
You just have to show up.
Just got to put in my time on the rudiments, bro, of life.
I think that's a perfect place to end it. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, bro. It was good to have a good chat with you.
You too.
Thank you, Stan. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. What a guy. What a motivator. I love Stan. It's always a really, a pleasure to sit down with him, shoot the breeze. We have always had very good chats, good vibes. I want to get working with him again as well. I'm sort of waiting for the kids to grow up. Maybe when he's talking about 44, how old will I be then? Yeah, I'll probably be about the same age, actually. I think I'm only a year older. Maybe we'll start the next prog band to take over the world when prog is back and cool again. Hanging on to that hope that one day that will happen. If you're on the podcast app, you can see a bunch of links that I have for Stan. I've posted his John Theodore drum medley, him doing a playthrough of a new Caledonia song, him doing the Kimbra sing sessions, a whole bunch of stuff. Follow him on Instagram, Stan Bicknell. You will not be disappointed. He's a motivational guy, great guy to follow, and yeah, just watch him kick serious ass on the drums. It's a real joy to watch. I think that'll do us. Yeah, that's the end of it. Today it's late at night here. I've had a big day. I don't want to keep waffling on, but it's been a pleasure. I'll be back in another few weeks with some more guests. Thank you for tuning into the bottom of it. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye.